skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformation. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Welcome everybody to Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, Performance Enhancement Expert, TEDx speaker, and author, Sean Douglas. I want to welcome everyone from around the world who is listening to the show. This show is heard in over 44 countries, such as Canada, U.S., Brazil, Panama, Thailand, Australia, New Zealand, the U.K. I want to thank you to those who have tuned in and have made the show possible, made it popular, and wherever you are, just thank you so much for your support. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformations. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that has changed our lives and how we use these to help others and transform others' lives all around us. Now, you can listen to us every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time and on the first and third Fridays at the same time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. On other days, we have special pop-up episodes. We got Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll do book launches, product launches. We're promoting somebody's event. So if you have any of those things coming up, love to have you on the show. Promote book launches and courses and anything that you have going on. So on the show, we have impactful and amazing guests that are doing just that, impacting everyone around them in one way or another. And my guest today does exactly that. Now you can call in at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. So if you have a question for the guests, please let me know. And I would love to hear your feedback. You can subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play Music app. Look us up. Subscribe to the show so that you don't miss any episodes. So the show that we're going to have today is called the Mindset Missionary with Tim Starr. And Tim is a speaker, author, and mindset missionary. Born and raised on the south side of Chicago, his mother was divorced twice. He never knew his father and never connected with his stepfather. They struggled for many years with money issues, and he carried that with him when he moved to San Diego, California in 1987. Tim also brought his blue-collar mentality. Tim worked many different jobs, but spent the greater part of his career, of his working career, in the computer support arena. At the age of 54, Tim lost a job of 15 years with a phone call. It would be almost 2 years before he worked again. In the meantime, he never suffered the depression or downtimes the experts say he should have. The reason why turned out to be in the materials he'd been consuming over the years. well, actually since his 20s, from people like Wayne Dyer, Robert Ringer, Esther Hicks, and other people. Today, Tim uses these concepts to help others to see life's curveballs as a part of the process, rather than as excuses to play the victim card. And I think that we can all kind of relate to where Tim's coming from. And so I think this is going to be a great, great episode. I know a lot of people refer back to like the 2007, 2008, losing their job and getting that mentality of how do I bounce back? How do I, use resilience to, just to overcome all that. And I think Tim is going to tell us exactly how he never suffered the depression or those downtimes that the experts say that they should have. So let's welcome Tim to the show. Tim, how are you, brother?
Hello, hello.
Hey, man. So,
how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing awesome, man. I was just reading the bio and kind of introducing you to the listeners. So, is there anything I missed? Right?
I'm scrambling for my phone and trying to come up with something that's going to work so we can connect here.
Yeah, I don't know what is going on with this thing today. I've got the slowest computer in the world. I don't know why. I mean, it's a brand new computer, but for some reason, when I am in a scramble or need to use it, it goes slow. But my wife can just be, I think I'll go shop on Amazon, and it's like the quickest thing ever.
Yeah. Yep. The universe trying to tell you something.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. So what do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So
where do we start on
yeah,
this thing?
I was still talking about growing up, not connecting with your father, which I could totally relate to that. Never really connecting, with the stepfather and all that. Moving to California, you've got this mentality, this work, blue collar mentality, and at age 54, you lost your job, but you still bounced back. You still overcame. So walk us through all that. What does it take to use resilience to bounce back, to bounce forward, through that?
Well, I think you probably mentioned it in the introduction, which I missed, but, what happened to me was I was working as a computer support tech as a contractor, and I had been doing that for more or less about 20 years. And so for anybody who might not know what that means, it basically means that you work for a staffing agency, essentially. And they're your employer, but you do your work at someone else's office. And so I was on the job where I had been for almost 15 years. And I got a call from my rep who was in New York, and he said they told me to, there was much more to the phone call than this, but the essential was they told me to tell you to go home. Today's your last day. And it was completely unexpected. And, needless to say, it was a shock. And so I packed up my stuff and I went home to my wife, who at the moment was also unemployed.
Oh, geez.
And, so, it was one of those events that's supposed to, according to the quote-unquote experts, it's supposed to kind of destroy you, especially as a man.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be so self-identified with our jobs that if it goes away unexpectedly, then we don't know we don't know who we are anymore, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was supposed to be depressed, and I was supposed to go through some long period of panic or something, and it just didn't happen. And eventually I started to question why not. And it really just, the answer was all of the stuff that I was consuming since I was a kid, because it was interesting stuff, the usual names in the thought space is Wayne Dyer and Dennis Waitley, and then there's some other people who most people never heard of. Robert Ringer was huge. But the bottom line was that some of the stuff that I had been reading for fun and listening to for fun had stuck.
Right.
And it just made me see life in a different way than, what the experts claim that I was supposed to see it. So it just didn't have the same, I felt liberated rather than panicked,
So it really matters what we feed ourselves, like knowledge-wise. If you're like feeding positive thinking, right? Feeding that positivity, or if you're feeding that negative stuff, right?
Yep. I'm just, I tell people, first word of advice: turn off the TV news. Don't ever look at it again. There's nothing there that's good for you. Anything that's truly important, you are going to hear it one way or another. Feel assured of that. Your friends are not going to let you not hear about it.
Right.
But you don't need to go to, Channel 7 and, because the reason they do that, there is nothing good there, right? Every once in a while they'll throw in a little feel-good story. But those stories don't have the shock impact on our systems that the negative stories do. We get emotional jolts from reading, about the latest school shooting or whatever's going on. Right. And those emotional jolts, whether they're good or they're bad, are addicting. It's a drug that's created and shot into your brain. And so it doesn't matter whether it's a positive or a negative thing, you just want more. And so we go back for more, and they play on that and they feed it because you're going to keep coming back so they can sell more advertising and make more money. But it doesn't help you.
Yep.
And it hurts you. So turn that off, stop watching that, and then, take a look at the things that you are consuming, and be more intentional about it. Start looking for, materials, books, YouTube videos, whatever it is, whatever works for you for learning. Start getting into that and look for stuff with intention that has a better perspective. And it's going to take time. You're going to have to sort of whittle away at it. I kind of like the analogy of we have all these programs that are built up, but it's kind of like a thin coat of veneer on a table or something, and you put that over there. It's clear. You don't see anything. And you put another one and another one and another one, and every time we hear another negative story that confirms our existing perspective, we put another coat of this shellac on there, and we reinforce that program. And in order to counteract that, you've got to kind of do it in reverse, unless you run into some sort of crisis situation. Then things can be done. You can cut right through it. But for most of us, in most cases, you've got to sort of whittle away at it and take it off layer by layer. And with time, you get there. So it's not instant, but the good news is that, it's not necessarily difficult. And you also can see results in a pretty short amount of time.
Yep.
So it helps to,
awesome.
Keep you motivated. It's not so hard to stay at it.
Yeah, definitely. So the first major question I ask on the show, where we get real deep, is why? Like, why do you do what you do? Why is mindset so important? Like what is your big why?
Okay, it comes out of a couple of different things.
All right.
I haven't done blue-collar work in probably 30 years. But, the south side of Chicago it's a blue-collar culture. And you can, I lived there for 27, 28 years before I moved. And that became a part of who I am. So you don't leave whatever your native culture is, move somewhere else, and suddenly you're a different person. You bring that with you whether you like it or you don't. Mm-hmm. So I still identify with the mindset of, the you get up on Monday and you go to work and you're just grinding away all week long, and on the weekends you party, you blow off the steam, and
right.
you spend all your money basically, and then on Monday you start paying for the weekend. And it's a wheel that never stops, and you tend not to ever sort of lift your eyes up away from the grindstone to look for any other options. So you're not necessarily miserable doing it, but only because you don't know there's other choices. And,
right.
I came out of that, and luckily I didn't think the same way entirely. And I realized, that when I had the light bulb go off for me that I didn't suffer the way I was supposed to suffer, and I realized why. Then I also, right behind that was, well, geez, I know people that I'm no different from anybody else. I know plenty of people who need this stuff.
Right.
Who need to have a little bit of a different perspective on life just to feel better.
Yeah.
And that's essentially family. Whether I know them or I don't, it's still, there's a connection there. And so that's a big piece of it. And then I had an opportunity a few years back to give a couple of presentations at a school for at-risk kids. And we got into the subject of the book Think and Grow Rich. And, I said that, I told them that, it's on like every CEO's must-read list, but there's nothing about business in it. And why not? And it's about perspective on your life and on how the world works and things, and creating your future that way. And I saw, faces light up and eyes get wide and things. And I had a couple of kids come to me afterwards and want to know more. And I left that just feeling like, I want to do more of that. I want to, I think we all have a built-in desire to have an impact on other people and then make a difference, big or small. And so that's kind of the other piece of the answer to that question.
That's awesome. So we have our why, and then we highlight the transformational moment that put you on the path to what you're doing now. So was there like a moment or a decision or something that said, yes, this is what I need to be doing, and you felt like you'd found your purpose?
That moment at the school may have been, that's at least a piece of it. Because at that point I was just, I wasn't really, I didn't have a vision really. I wasn't that clear on where I was going.
Right.
I kind of knew that I wanted to share these ideas with people, and that's why I was there in the first place. But I didn't have a set vision of what I wanted to do. And I tend to, somebody else asked me this on another show, and the answer basically is that I don't have these epiphanies so much.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of, things sort of build up here and there, and then all of a sudden I find out I'm in a different place. And that's the epiphany, is that I'm not, I think differently or something.
Wow.
So it wasn't that something happened and I went, this changed my world, I got to go change other people's worlds. It was a more gradual process that brought me there, and then just a realization more in the moment that I had been changed over time versus something major, some issue, some event happening, and that changed me.
Wow.
Hopefully that answers that for you.
Yeah, definitely. So what is it that you do now? We have our why, we have our transformational moment. What is it that you do that elevates and transforms people's lives? Tell us about what you're doing these days.
I've got a couple of books out on law of attraction issues.
Okay.
And so that's sort of the basis that I work, kind of the base ideas that I work with. I start from the premise that what we're really all wanting here is to be a little happier today than we were yesterday, and to be a little happier tomorrow than we are today, and to just sort of build on that momentum. And so, you have to talk with people for a little while to find out where their minds are at to start with, and find out what it is that they and help them to see what they really want. one example is I've got a friend who, if you ask her, she will say that she wants to live at the beach. She wants a house on the water, and so she can like open the doors in the morning and just hear the waves and all that. And what she's doing is she's going on the weekends and she's going to these open houses in those locations. And she's going in and just experiencing the house on the cliffs in La Jolla, over in San Diego, which is like a really high-end area. And she's standing there and imagining what it would be like if it was hers. And so what
awesome.
Some friends and I helped to point out to her, what she wants is not the house. She wants the feeling.
Yeah.
And that's really all we want from anything that we think we want to acquire or any goal we think we want to set. We want the feeling that we're going to get by having it. And so in some cases, you don't need to have the thing. Like in her case, you can just go visit the open house and experience it every weekend. You can go do it.
Right.
And we think we want the fancy cars and the big houses and whatever, but it's really the feeling that we get from driving that car, the freedom or the recognition that people see you in. Oh, you must be successful, something, But you don't have to. You don't have to necessarily have it in your possession if you can get the feeling of it in a different way. And so once you start to question, why do I want this thing or this person or whatever, then you can start to get to the real truth of why you want things and why you're doing what you're doing, and find out maybe that you're on the right track and maybe you're not. And if you're not on the right track, personally, I want to know as early as possible that I can change course. Some people, we've got stuff built in where we don't want to hear that we're not doing the right thing for for ourselves, our family, for whatever. And so some people, it's a little more difficult to shine that light. But that's all I'm really trying to do, is to help people to look for themselves at what they're doing and how they're operating in their worlds, and see if it's truly serving them, if it's really taking them where they want to go.
Yeah. So
and the form takes different form. How you do that is different in each individual's case.
Dude, there's
generally
so much there. Like, when you're talking about the feelings, right? Like there's a feeling of that you want this, whatever. I keep thinking about, some videos that I've seen recently and some articles that I've read about the feeling that every time you get a like on Facebook or one of the social medias, like somebody likes your stuff, those what do they call it? Those it's like endorphins or the
endorphins. Yep.
There's like the like it's like
and it's the same thing.
It's your brain.
That's the same thing as I was talking about with the TV news.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative. It's still a rush to the brain.
Yep.
Small as that may be from Facebook, it's still it's like you've got mail. There was a reason why that was so powerful.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, what a great marketing tip for that. Like you've got mail. Like, oh my gosh, like it makes you feel like a sense of importance. It makes you feel loved and like
somebody cares about me. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I think that just comes out of the thing that we want to make a difference in the world. And somebody sending you a like, somebody sending you an email potentially means that you've touched somebody somehow. And so there's a little spark of hope that comes up when that happens.
So how important is it to be, like, we always talk about like the mindset, right? Like, I mean, there's a mindset coach, like everybody's like, you gotta have the right mindset. You gotta be mentally prepared, and like, athletes have to get their minds right, and boxers and like all this stuff. But I mean, how important is it to know what that mindset is? I mean, how do I know that I'm in the right mindset, or how do I know what kind of mindset that I need? Isn't it all the same?
No, and that's a good question, because the answer to how you know is in the emotions that you feel when you think about things. So if you have a goal, no matter what it is, but you have a goal, you want to achieve something, you want to acquire something, you want a certain performance goal, something. When you think about that, if it doesn't make you excited, if it doesn't make you smile, it doesn't make you generally feel good in some way,
right,
you want to take a closer look because it's probably not really serving you. Right? If you have a goal that makes you, if you've got something that the minute you open your eyes in the morning, you're thinking about it and you jump out of bed because you can't wait to go work on that, you're on the right track. You got the right mindset. And your mindset, it changes over time. As we get older, we have different perspectives. You gain experience and you start to see things differently. Truths, there are very few truths that are true throughout our lives and throughout everyone else's life, right? Things change as we get older, and what used to work doesn't work anymore. It used to be true when you were 3 years old, you could throw yourself on the ground in the store and stamp your feet and scream and get that candy bar. Right? Try that today. At 40, they're going to throw you out of Walmart. But so that truth changes, and and it's true for most things. And one of the things that I'm writing about in one of the books I'm working on right now is that there's something I call the law of transition. And it basically is that everything in the universe is changing. Nothing is solid and stable and unchanging. Everything is changing. It's only a matter of speed. And so some things we can see right in front of our eyes, and some things seem like they're forever, but they are still disintegrating, right? They're falling apart.
Yeah.
And so we can, if you understand that everything is supposed to change, then you can find, it's easier to find a mindset that is not so much in resistance to the idea. And so when something happens that happens maybe in the moment, and you're not expecting it, it's easier to accept. And it's easier to not feel like, oh, I just got screwed by the universe. It's just an opportunity to learn something.
Right.
And if you can shift into that, man, you got it made, because
there you go.
Things stop bothering you with the kind of impact that they had, last week, last month, last year.
Right.
And this stuff has saved me literally from just so much grief. People are going to die in your life, as an example.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine just died a few days ago, and it's not even the end of the world for them. The people left behind are the ones who suffer. Yep. But that's a choice. It's due to our perspective on things. So if you think about it in a different way, it's not necessarily this terrible event. So everything is subject to that.
Yeah, definitely. I completely 100% agree with you. Let's talk about that for a second. So what has been one of the best parts about your transformation? I believe that it doesn't happen overnight, and there's like high moments, right? Like when you finally feel like all the pieces are fitting. So what has been, something that stands out to you? What has been the best part about your transformation?
For me, things come in little pieces. One example that I can get, and I'm not sure I can give you a best moment like that, but if I go back to the job, I get a job and I'm doing tech support for an insurance company office, and inside of about 2 to 3 years, I realized that it's probably, in terms of a career, it's not going to go anywhere. I've learned pretty much everything new that I'm going to learn, and maybe a little of this and a little of that here and there, but for the most part, I had kind of peaked out on what I was going to learn new from this job. And I just realized that as a career, it was not taking me anywhere. So then the thought behind that then is, well, maybe I should start thinking about getting out. well, how do I want to do that? Do I want to look for another job? Because this was a pretty good job. I was making good money relative to what I was doing. It was really flexible in terms of time. If I wanted to take a long lunch, I could do that. If I wanted to come in late, I could do that. There wasn't anybody standing over my shoulder, counting my minutes at the computer, that kind of thing. So it was a really good job to have, but it was still a job. And so I started thinking about, well, how am I going to get out? Maybe I should do something on the side. But because this was a good job, and I liked the people I was doing this stuff for, I became godfather to a son for one of these guys. These were not just people I was servicing; these became my friends. And so I didn't have the motivation to get out there and create something. But I had put that desire out there. I had put that thought out there into the universe, and the universe came back and gave it to me. You want your freedom? Here you go. You get a phone call and says today's your last day.
Wow.
So, so what happened was, when that happened, my perspective was not, oh man, how terrible, what a lousy thing. There's a little of that in there, They could have done it in a better way. But my perspective was more, I realized, this is what I'd been asking for a long time, was to get out. I just didn't do anything to make it happen on my own terms. And so it's that kind of thing. So that's one of the reasons that it didn't bother me the way that it was, supposed to. Because it was something I asked for it. Who else am I going to blame,
Right. So I don't believe that it's all
like
sunshine and rainbows and there's ups and downs, and right? So talk about something that stands out. Like, what's one of the worst parts about your journey so far and your transformation?
Money.
Okay.
I came from a family that, we struggled for a long time. And, I was too young to know how badly we were struggling for a big chunk of it. But, there's a money mentality, there's a lack mentality around money that I'm still working on. And so, you lose a job and your income goes way down, and then even that doesn't last, and that eventually goes away when the unemployment benefits run out. And if you're not working in 6 months, then things start getting tight, and it gets really stressful.
Yeah.
So, it's what I've found is that I'm really good in some areas at creating things for myself, and then in other areas, not so much. And the money thing is one of those areas that is a challenge, or has been a challenge. I'm working on that. But so when you lose a job, especially when you're not expecting it and you haven't planned for it and all that, then those dark periods can get rough.
Definitely.
Then you just have to try to focus on, it won't last forever. Eventually, something else is going to come around, and it'll be over, and try to look for the lessons in the meantime.
Yep.
But even all of that,
completely agree with that.
It's another example of how it's not all terrible. So.
Right. And you never know, it could just flip. You know what I mean? Like, you never know when you're just like, you're like one no away to getting a yes, and you're like one phone call away. Like, I love the book 3 Feet from Gold. Greg Reed, Sharon Lecter, awesome. But like you're so, like, you're just like, you're 3 feet from gold, and people give up. And they say that people give up early on in the beginning.
Days ago. Sorry, I'm jumping on top of you, but we just interviewed Greg Reed a few days ago for my podcast. Well, not the podcast,
Dude.
but yeah.
Yeah, Greg's awesome.
Yeah, it was an interesting
Greg,
conversation.
he's so funny too. I called him right when I got my TED Talk. I was like, dude, this is not a drill. Like, I got it. Like, it took me 2 years, but I did it. I got the TED Talk. It's going to happen. And he was like, dude, you're a freaking champion. Like, you got this. Like, so he's so funny, and he's so uplifting. And, it's guys like that you just call on a whim, like, out of nowhere, and just let them know, like, because he always tells me, dude, you're so close, man. You're so, like, I know it. You're so close. He tells me, like, you're so close. I'm like, oh, it's frustrating. He's like, dude, don't give up. You're so close. And it happened. And he was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. When you coming to San Diego?
Yeah.
So he's got.
Well,
he's got
there's
cool
an
events,
interesting. Go ahead, finish.
I was saying he's got some pretty cool events, like the Secret Knock.
Secret Knock, yeah.
Should be around this. Yep, Secret Knock. And then he's just at City Gala, I think, just this past weekend.
Yeah, he's a busy guy. But this idea of 3 feet from gold. Maybe I got to imagine that I'm not the only person who's thinking this because, so for anybody who doesn't know, right, this is the idea that, and there's a whole story behind it, but there's the idea of you're working towards something and just not getting the results, and then you give up and you find out later that you were 3 feet from that vein of gold in your backyard. But the problem with the story, it's nice and motivational and stuff, and go get it and keep at it and don't give up. But there is also, he talks about billionaires and stuff that he gets to talk to and interview, and they are quick to give up on things in certain ways. And so the trick is knowing early whether this is worth sticking with and pursuing, or should you just give up and cut your losses and go find something else to go after. And if you're financially not in a place to, just drop this business because the restaurant's not working and, let's go start something else, then you kind of have to stick with it. And you may be 300 feet from gold, So there's I'm a skeptic, and I'm critical of statements and things, in the sense that I'm analytical about them. And,
sure.
I like the suggestion of, not giving up because you could be that close, but you need some other things around you that sort of, they're confirming that you're, like you got from Greg, he's confirming that you're on the right track. That stuff makes it easier to keep at it. But if you got to have your eyes open on things. That's all. People create things and it's their baby, and they can't see the writing on the wall, and they can't see how it's not working, and they can't see because they don't want to look at it. You have to be willing to detach from the emotional part of things on almost everything that you have a venture in.
Right.
If you want to be objective about it.
Yep. So speaking of Greg Reed and some others that we're talking about, who's been your biggest influencers in life? Well,
Wayne Dyer, he's not the only one to teach this lesson, but he's the one I learned it from.
Sure.
The idea that it's not an event that happens that has an effect on you. It's how you think about it.
Okay.
So
How
the example that he gave was when he would do speeches, he would be in town, he'd be in a hotel the day before, and he would spend the whole 24 hours prior to his presentation focusing on his presentation. He would be jogging and things, and he said he'd be jogging. If it's bad weather, he'd jog up and down the hallways in the hotel thinking about his presentation and what he's going to say to people. And he had no input from the outside world during those 24 hours, no TV, no newspapers, no nothing. And so he was at an event, he's backstage getting ready to go out and speak, and a woman approaches him and said, "Isn't it terrible about the space shuttle?" And he said, What do you mean? And so it exploded. And it had happened hours before, and everybody else knew about it. He didn't know about it, so it didn't affect him. So once he got the news, then he has to take that information and process it. And that's where your mindset comes in, which the programs that you run determine how you process that. But that's an example of, stuff happens. And you could, one of the parallels is people, you have twin brothers, let's say, walking across the street and they get hit by a car and they both end up in the hospital And, one guy's got a really positive attitude about things, and the other guy's got a negative attitude, and he feels like a victim, and he's like, oh, what else? I'm stuck in a hospital for 6 months, and I got to go through this lousy physical therapy, and all the pain I'm going to have. Life is terrible. And the other guy's in the next bed going, well, I got 6 months to learn a new skill. I can finish that song I was working on. I can,
Right.
I can meet some new people. It's got to be interesting, nurses and whatever, It's
Yeah.
the same event, just two different perspectives on it.
Wow.
So, and we get to choose how we're going to think about it.
Yeah.
That's the great thing, is we get to choose. In every moment, we get to choose. You just have to remember to think about which choice do you want to make. And that's the key.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the thing,
Yep. Yeah, I think people forget about that. They get so wrapped up into the situation, right?
Yeah, you're living it. You're in the middle of it. You're not outside looking in. And so you can't be objective. But that's the work, is to try to get to that point where you can look at things as they happen and evaluate versus just react. But I wanted to throw in the other person who is really, really high on my list is Robert Ringer.
Okay.
He wrote, I believe, the first two self-published multi-million seller books,
Wow.
Winning Through Intimidation and Looking Out for Number One. And Looking Out for Number One is just phenomenal. Just phenomenal, because it really, the bottom line lesson in that thing is that if you're going to be the best person that you can be for friends, family, the world, you have to take care of yourself first. And it doesn't mean stepping on other people to get what you want, and it doesn't mean neglecting other people, and it doesn't mean any of the negative things that title sort of might suggest. It just means you've got to be the best you can be before you can bring that to the rest of the world. And so that book answered questions that I really, honestly, I didn't know I had. And I can't tell you today what the questions were, but I remember that when I finished it, I just felt like a weight had been lifted off of my shoulders. And it's just a phenomenal book.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And so,
I'm trying to get him to come on my show.
I was going to say, what about getting him like on these shows, right? Like to authors and stuff that that have changed your life, Yeah. That'd be super awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying.
So,
well, that's how we got to talk to Greg,
Yeah, well, yep, definitely.
A message, and
that's what I did.
It happens. So. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you enjoy most about what it is that you do?
It sounds cliche, but it's so fulfilling. It's so cool when you can, sometimes it's almost a visual thing. You can almost see it physically when the light comes on for somebody, and there's a recognition about something that is new. And, the eyes widen a little, they start to smile. And, that's a great feeling, because that you haven't changed them, but you've helped them to change themselves. Right? You just found a way to shine a light on something for them that they couldn't see before. And that is, ultimately, that's changing the world. And this is kind of a pet peeve of mine that I find myself talking about a lot lately. Okay. There are, you hear people talking about having a find your life purpose and
right.
Let's be a part of this big movement. Let's change the world and all these things. Got to fix everything. You don't need to be the next Steve Jobs or whoever. You don't need to create some huge thing to change the world. Every little pebble in the ocean creates ripples, and the person that you affect sitting there, across the table from you is going to turn around and affect other people with the same stuff, And so if you affect anybody, you're changing the world. and no, it's not even noticeable necessarily by anybody else, but it allows you. What we want is for us. It's every decision we make, and people don't like to hear this, but every decision that we make is selfish. We do it because we think it's in our own best interest. The logic behind that may not hold water, but it's the reason we do things. And it's the reason people kill themselves. There is a piece that thinks it's the best thing for them. And it may, like I said,
interesting.
It may not rationally be correct, but yeah. And actually, that came from Robert Ringer.
I'll say that's interesting. Because I mean, we always talk about trying to be a person of value, not a person of success, and who do you serve and who do you? But maybe it's, I don't know if it's instinct or maybe it's just the way that people are wired or whatever. But because Zig Ziglar said that if you help enough people get what you want, you'll eventually get what or you help enough people get what they want, you'll eventually get what you want.
Right.
So, I'm thinking maybe that's a selfish connotation too.
You help somebody else, you get a good feeling from it. And the fact is that that's not a bad thing. Right? It just is. We make these value judgments on stuff like this all the time, and we never stop to think about it. Is this really true? But Zig's thing is that, of course, it's selfish. But along the way, you're helping a lot of other people. So why shouldn't you get some sort of reward for contributing to the world, And I don't care what way that happens, and maybe you tell a joke for somebody, you tell a joke to an 8-year-old and he smiles and laughs and runs off to tell his friends. You did that for you because when he laughs, you're going to get a kick out of it. And that's okay.
Yeah. That's
enough reason to do it.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be, has some great meaning behind it, And even just saying that everything it's a selfish act, everything that we decide, that makes people think a certain way about it, And it's not a negative thing. It's the same as the example of the what they tell you on the plane. If the cabin pressure drops, the oxygen mask is going to drop down and put yours on first before you put it on your kid. Is it selfish?
And
yes.
It is. It is kind of like,
it is,
like
but
make sure that
it's a necessary selfishness.
Yeah, absolutely. And people don't even think twice about it. Yeah, because your instinct is to help your children first, and they literally say, before you help your child, to make sure that you put your mask on, because their instinct is, oh my God, my baby, and to go for the baby. You know what I mean?
And why is that? Because if you don't, and if that cabin pressure drops fast enough, and you black out because you're struggling to get this on your kid, and you don't get that done, now you're both dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah.
Wow, great perspective. I never thought of it that way. Amazing.
Well, this is why you have this show, man, is to get people to come in and lay something new on you, right?
Right.
And this is I love this stuff because I'm getting this from my own show. I'm talking to people that have a different way of thinking about stuff, and it's so good because it's I don't have a problem with saying, oh crap, I'm wrong. A lot of other people do. But it's such a great opportunity to pick up a new idea, a new way of looking at stuff, and you get to measure it, you get to taste it, you get to sample it a little bit and say, well, does this fit in with how I think, or does this is this really great against what I believe and stuff like that, and then you can throw stuff out, and that's fine. But I feel bad really for people who are so locked up, that they won't consider other things, even down to, food and music and stuff. I've got a friend who can eat a great vegetarian meal, but if there's no meat, man, he's going to leave and he's going to head for Burger King or something on the way home. He could be stuffed. He's still got to go get a hamburger. It's all in his head. He hasn't had a meal unless he's had meat.
So, wow. So talk about your podcast. I was going to bring that up too. Talk about your podcast is awesome. I was a guest on it, and you're an amazing host. So tell everybody about your podcast and what it's about.
Yeah, great, thanks. It's called The Universe Between Your Ears, and I'm going to try and give you this without getting sucked down into this rabbit hole. But my belief, I'll put it this way, my belief, and I believe it's backed up by quantum physics, is that nothing is physical. Everything that we experience is energetic, and it's just frequencies of energy. And so what that means is that and it's all between our ears. So that's why I gave it that name. It's the universe between your ears. We all have our own separate universes. They overlap, but everything that goes on is really only happening in our minds, right? And so there's a double-edged sword there, because the great thing about that is it means that you have created whatever your life experience is up to this point. You created it. And it means that you're going to create your future experience too, which is the potential negative for some people, because along with that is some responsibility that suddenly dawns on you, like, oh crap, this is all on me. It's all my job to do. And a lot of us tend to just sort of bump through life and let other people make choices for us, and you're looking for work, and when the first thing that shows up, you take that job and whatever, and so it may or may not be the best thing for you, but you take the job. You stop looking. And, the idea that I want to bring to people is that we have so much control over what our experiences are going to be. You intentionally or completely unknowingly, either way, we have huge influence over the experiences that we're going to encounter, the people that are going to come into our lives, the feelings that we're going to have about everything. We have so much control over it, it's not funny. But we have programs that run all the time that make us think differently, right? We're blind to it, most of it. We don't, until the stuff is sort of brought to you, and it's a new idea. You don't know about it, and so if you're ignorant, you just don't know. So you look at it in whatever way you look at it. But
it's true.
We're trying to bring people some new ideas, and so we get to talk with people that are into some amazing things and have been through some amazing stuff. The very first episode is this woman named Burns Bedard, and she's been through cancer surgery. The first time around, they removed 90% of her stomach.
Whoa!
She had no idea they were going to do that. And then she went back. Once you've got it, you've got to go back for regular checkups and stuff. And a couple of years later, they said, well, now it's in your liver. And she went in and had surgery on her liver. They took 75% of her liver. And the good news on the liver grows back. I didn't know this, but the liver will grow back. But still, she's had to do that and endure all that stuff. And she is such a ball of genuine positive energy that I love talking to her. And she's just, man, she's just a fireball. And she's like 5 feet tall and just she's so much fun, and just with a great attitude and great insight on how things work. She understands, that she understands she's creating this stuff for herself, and so we get to meet people like that, and
heck yeah,
people that are changing the world, man, and it's so cool.
Yep, I love hearing the stories. Like what happens, and because a lot of podcasts I listen to, there's a lot of, and speakers do this too, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but we both go to a lot of events, we both speak at a lot of events, and what I try to do is I try to give you the how, like literally step one, step two, lot of speakers, and this is what I hear, and a lot of podcasts like, so what makes you, do whatever you need to do, whatever. Oh, it's that mindset, kind of positive mindset. Oh, yep,
Yeah.
that's it right there, positive mindset. Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
But someone's listening, going, okay, well, how do I get a positive mindset? And they never say it. Like, how do you get a positive mindset? Like, what do I got to do? Like, give me some steps. Like, what does that look like? There's no deep dives that go in, and your show does, my show does. I want the deep stuff. Like, I want to, you want to figure out how to get $1 million? Okay, contact Steve at Bank of America, and he might give you a loan. Like, I want deep. I want deep stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like step one. I want it spelled out.
And I'm kind of wired where somebody talks to me from the stage or from the, if it's a webinar, it's still from the stage, right? But they're up there and they're telling me how great their life is because they did this or that, and they want to sell you a program so that you can do the same thing. But just like you said, they're not giving you content, right? They're selling the sizzle, not the steak. And you buy the sizzle, and then you get the steak and find out that it's not cooked the way you like it, and so it's not going to work for you. Right? You're not going to stick to it. Yeah. And they're all maybe not all, but most of them, it's what they're selling is legit, right? And it will work. But we have to have the motivation to stick to it, and we got to believe that we're 3 feet from gold. And if we just keep digging, we're going to get there. You got to have something that keeps you going. You've got to have a mentality that says, I'm not going to give up, and that's mindset. That's why mindset is important, but mindset does not accomplish anything. But it's necessary.
Yeah, it's the action taken once you get that mindset. Yeah.
But there's, I'm a big Esther Hicks fan in the Law of Attraction stuff by Abraham Hicks. And, they talk about inspired action versus action. And it's a hugely important distinction because, here's the idea. The universe doesn't care what's true or not true. Right? Nobody's ever run a 4-minute mile. I'm going to do it. So you do it, right? Nobody's ever run a 4-minute mile. I don't know if I can do it. I want to. I really want to. I'm going to go out there and give it everything I got. I don't know if I can do it. Nobody's ever done it. If that's your mindset about struggle, this is work, this is hard. But I'm going to work hard at it. I'm going to make it happen. The universe that you're coming from a place of lack. Coming from a place of can't.
Yep.
Right. Whereas if you woke up and just felt like you had all this energy and said, I'm going to go run a 4-minute mile. I'm not even thinking about it. Here we go. Guess what's going to happen? Right?
Might hit it.
The universe is hearing, I'm going to do it. Okay, let's do it. The universe supports you on that stuff. And we have these well, I don't want to get off track. So the idea of inspired action is just that. You get this inspiration to go and do something versus, I need to do something, so I'll, here's step one, I'll start here. It may or may not get you there. But if you're inspired about it, it doesn't even feel like work, right? You get up and you can't wait to go and do it. It's fun. You're laughing, you're smiling, you're growing as a person whether you realize it or not. But the universe supports that stuff too. But it's you're going to get so much farther if you're operating from inspiration. You get a hunch about something, you get an urge to go do something. That's the stuff you really want to act on. Versus, oh crap, I need to, I got to pay the bill this week. How am I going to do that? Well, I can go collect bottles, or you know what I mean. It's you may or may not get there, but it makes a huge difference in your experience of the experience.
Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So this is the moment of the show before we close where we do a shameless plug. You can plug a friend, quote, websites, Facebook, products, whatever it is that you feel that the listeners need to know, whatever it is that you offer. Shameless plug. Go.
All right. Can I get more than one?
Absolutely. Dude, this is your moment.
Okay. Okay, I would love for people to check out the podcast first. I mean, I'm having so much fun doing that, and I think there's so much there for people to get out of it. And so that's universepodcast.com. That's the website for it. You can find it on iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play and wherever. But universepodcast.com. It's called The Universe Between Your Ears. Sean is our most recent episode at this point. Yep. The other place would be really my personal website, timcstar.com. Star is spelled with one R. And that's where you can that's undergoing a revamp, and I'll roll that out soon. But that's where you can kind of get a little more insight into what I'm into and where I'm coming from on things, and connect with me if you think you want to have a conversation about moving forward. So I'll leave it at that.
I love it, man. I love it. So as we wrap up, can you deliver your best nugget of knowledge that will motivate, transcend, and inspire someone to take that inspired action?
I would say, understand that you have something to contribute to the world. If you're in a spot where you're feeling like, oh, this all sounds good, but I don't know, it's me, you know what? Let me retract that. Here's a better one. Find the courage to step 1 foot outside of your comfort zone on something. It doesn't almost matter what it is, but find something that you would like to do, but you're just kind of like, you're making up excuses not to do it. I don't know if I'm afraid of it, but I don't know, it doesn't feel, but I'd really like to go to that event or something, but they might call on me. Do it. Just go and do it, and because your life can change. You and I are talking right now because I did that in September. And
yeah,
it's, literally. So I just did one small thing that I normally would not have done, and my world changed. So, yeah, that's probably my favorite at this point, put it that way.
I love it. And that's a great call to action to have, right? I mean, that's a great call to action. Like you said, have 1 foot outside, just test it out.
Yeah, you don't have to go 100 yards down the road. It's just one little step, little at a time. And the great news, the little things are easier to repeat. They're easier to maintain. Some people want to do this huge, I'm going to change my life and move to Kentucky and do, I don't know. And, you bring yourself with you. Nothing's going to change. You'll be in a different place, but nothing else is going to change. But a small thing you can change, you can stick to it, and you can make it work. And then you can, you slowly expand, and eventually you're running. But in the beginning, it's baby steps. And understand that that's good enough.
Boom.
Progress is progress.
We'll leave it right there. There you go.
All right.
We'll leave it right there.
I'll
Man,
talk all day
Tim, thank you so much. Dude, it's like the mindset is just, man, because everybody has their different version of what the mindset should look like and what's needed, what type of mindset. So, yeah, man, I think that's
the mindset
so
is you want an improvement over. Yeah, you want to improve the way you feel about things today. And then a little, you want to improve that tomorrow. That's your mindset. That's what you want to go after.
Yep. There you go. Boom. I love it. Dude, thanks for coming on the show. I've had amazing time talking with you. Did you rock, man?
Thanks. Ed, you make it easy. I appreciate it. Hopefully somebody out there picks up a nugget or two and is able to do something with it.
Oh, dude, absolutely, absolutely. So, Life Transformation Radio listeners, another amazing guest, another amazing episode. Please connect with Tim. Go to timcstar.com. Go to www.mindsetmissionary.com. Look him up on Facebook, facebook.com/Mindset Missionary, LinkedIn.com. Look up Mindset Missionary. Connect with Tim. He is a heck of a guy. And check out his podcast, The Universe Between Your Ears. He's doing incredible, incredible things. He provides so much value in this area of mindset that so much of us desperately need. And so all of the links are in the show notes right here. You can find it. And before we close, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call that living your brand. So until next episode, have a great night.
Skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just 49 bucks at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only 49 bucks. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just 49 bucks at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only 49 bucks. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.